I recently took a 2,000-mile road trip in a rented Tesla. This was the longest amount of time I'd ever spent in a Tesla, and as I thought about the trip, I wanted to learn three main things. One, how well does the older Autopilot system work? Two, is the car comfortable for a few days and 2,000 miles? And then three, would I want to buy an older Tesla, specifically the Model S? Or really, another way of putting that is a 2015 Model S something that people should buy? Naturally, I learned a lot more about the car and the experience, so I wanted to share this with all of you. Should you rent a 6-year-old Tesla off a Turo and drive 1,000 miles away from its home? I'll answer that question and more. Naturally, like any good road trip starts, I left Richmond in the middle of a snowstorm and headed down to Virginia Beach to pick up the Tesla. Luckily, it wasn't snowing there, so picking up the car in the rain was fairly easy. All right, so here we are, 2015 Tesla Model S. I got to relearn how to use the controls and adjust all the settings and everything, because it's been a while since I was in any Model S, and I've never been in a 2015. So we'll see, but I'm excited. This is cool. So I'm coming up on a construction zone. I'm sure current Tesla owners know everything that's about to happen. However, I do not. So that's why I'm taking a video, because I'm like, you know what? Normal people that aren't familiar with Teslas, how does Autopilot handle a construction zone? And of course, this one's very well marked. You know, the lane markings are easy and the lanes are wide, so maybe that doesn't actually count. But, you know, it doesn't hurt to just check it out and see what's going to happen. Of course, I'm prepared to take over should I need to, and obviously I'm paying attention. I mean, the car's doing this perfectly, like no issue at all in any way. Like, I've got the cruise control set, the Autopilot maintains the lane, so it's doing great. I mean, you can see the cars that are to my left right there. No big deal at all, actually. I've got to say, so far, I think my favorite feature is the change lanes by itself. So I just put on the turn signal, it changes lanes, and then I cancel the turn signal. And it's that easy. Like, I didn't turn the car, it turned itself, changing lanes. All right, here I am, pulling up to the superchargers. My first time ever using a Tesla supercharger. Let's see how this works. Charging. Open charge port. Do you have to turn the car off? You can't. Okay. Let's see what happens. Now, I'm assuming you just plug it in. I think it's supposed to turn green, maybe? There we go. Look at that. Okay, so supercharged. So it is charging. 115 kilowatts. This is where my EV knowledge is limited. I am not familiar with like Tesla's charge rates and all of that. I have no idea what this should be charging at, if this is good or bad. And it says it's supercharging over here. Kind of gives the charging. Oh, look at that. It's got the plug plugged into the car. Something that might not be widely known about Teslas is that when you go and type in a destination in the navigation, it will tell you where all the supercharger stops are between your starting and your ending. Everywhere you need a stop, it's got it all planned in there. You don't have to figure it out. You don't have to do anything. It already knows. That is cool. Driving through the night was uneventful, and charging stops doubled as power naps as I needed to. In fact, I didn't need to actually sleep at all, which was definitely a testament to the Autopilot system, making it so much easier to pilot the car. I mean, essentially, I was just supervising it versus actually driving. And I made it to Florida in the morning and was loving the change in weather.
64 degrees, so I figure it's warm enough to open up the sunroof, and not a lot of Teslas have sunroofs, so this is a rare opportunity. Certainly makes things a lot louder, but I mean, I'm in Florida, the sunshine state, right? The sun's up, gotta enjoy it.
The rest of the day in Florida was going great. I picked up my wife, we were able to see some familiar sights, and even go out to the beach for a short time. Everything was going well. And then we started having a problem.
All right, so the last few hours have not been fun. I got the tire pressure low warning light that came on the dash, pulled up the tire pressures because you can see what the tire pressures are currently, and noticed that the right passenger rear tire was losing air. So put air in the tire, immediately heard it hissing as the air was coming out pretty much as fast as I was putting it in. I called the owner of the car, because of course we are renting his car, and said, hey, you know, if you'd like me to, I can get some Fix-A-Flat and see if that will fix it. Then we'll continue on our way. And he said, yep, go for it. Get some Fix-A-Flat. So did that, put air back in the tire. It looked like it was holding. We get back on the road and it was not. So pull back off the road, inspect a little bit further, and this guy was actually stuck in the tire like this. So that whole thing was down in the tire, basically meaning that the tire could not be repaired. So Teslas don't have spare tires, which that means that Tesla service needed to be contacted in order to bring out a new wheel and tire combo, because of course there's nothing that they can do with the tire on the car, and they don't have the ability to replace the tire and mount and balance a new tire and put it on the original wheel. Then I discovered at this point, which I should have looked into it, and I'm kicking myself, that Turo's, what are the fine print, the agreement that you agree to when renting somebody else's car on Turo, is that anything that's related to a flat tire, the renter, me, is responsible for the charges. And Tesla tires and wheels and service and everything is not the cheapest thing out there. So I am now out of pocket for that because of this lovely guy. One thing I learned about Tesla service that's pretty neat is his wheel and tire, the ones that the flat tire, they're gonna put a new tire on it and ship that wheel and tire up to him up in Virginia Beach, I believe for free. At least that's what the guy was telling me. So he'll be able to get everything addressed at that point up there. So it's been an experience, and I'm tired, and I honestly am over it, and I'm ready to go home. But anyway, it is what it is.
The short drive to our hotel in Daytona Beach was uneventful, although I have to say that because I was so tired, if I wouldn't have had Autopilot keeping the car in the lane for me, I might have run off the road. There were a few times that I noticed I had fallen asleep, like a long blink. In hindsight, I shouldn't have been driving at all, and we should have gotten a hotel in Orlando, but you know, sometimes in the moment we make decisions and we look back on that and realize that things probably could have gone a lot worse. I definitely got lucky, and I'm very thankful that I was driving a car that had the ability to stay in the lane, maintain speed, slow down if I was coming up on another vehicle, which I don't believe I ran into that situation all that often that late at night. Yeah. Definitely very happy that I was in the right vehicle for that situation. When we did get to the hotel, one thing I was not expecting was to find a Tesla destination charger, which these are 240 volt level 2 chargers. So they're not a supercharger. And what this allowed me to do was plug the car in and charge overnight. We woke up the next morning well rested and ready to continue our journey.
All right, so we've got 13 hours of driving ahead of us with charging stops included to get back up to Richmond. So it's 10:30. We are on our way, back on the road again. It's a nice day. The sun's shining. It's not raining. It's not snowy and sleet and smush all over the road like when I left to come down here. So should be a good trip. It'll be a great day.
We even found some time to feed the birds while charging, taking advantage of the Tesla's glass roof to get a shot that you wouldn't ordinarily see. Thankfully, the rest of the day was uneventful and everything went according to plan. So the three questions I asked at the beginning were, how well does the older autopilot system work? Is the car comfortable? And should you buy an older Tesla Model S, or would I buy a Tesla Model S, an older one? So the autopilot system was awesome. I had it active nearly all of the 2,000-mile trip and only took over driving myself when the weather was pretty bad and visibility was reduced, and a few other times. And I did notice that the system likes to favor the right edge of the lane, and there were some situations where that just made me uncomfortable and I didn't trust it, like it was too close to a barrier or to a semi-truck. And also, as much as I loved the lane changing feature, it really is my favorite part, I would say that I noticed that it would usually swing wide into the lane that you're entering before correcting back to the center. And after a while, that got fairly annoying. It is definitely not as sophisticated as the newer autopilot systems that use more cameras. That being said, I really wouldn't ever want to take another road trip in a car without autopilot or something similar. As far as whether the car is comfortable or not, well, if you ask me, yes, I wasn't sore or uncomfortable in any way at all. In fact, I didn't even really think about that while I was on the trip. It never popped into my head. My wife, however, if you ask her, she wasn't really impressed with the seats in particular. And it was only until after the trip that I learned that the older Model S, the seats, most people actually find them to be rather uncomfortable, and that is something they have significantly improved for the newer models. And lastly, would I buy one, or should someone buy an older Tesla? And this is something that I've gone back and forth on a bunch. In the beginning of the trip, I was excited, and I was like, yes, I want this. This is the car I would drive. And then at other times, I'm like, nope, no way. So I've really kind of gone back and forth on that. And I think for normal day-to-day driving that this would be an awesome car. For road trips, while the supercharging was free, after the battery was half full, the charge rate dropped very significantly. And ultimately, that just means that I spent a lot more time charging than I would have to if I was in a newer Tesla. And compared to all the other options that are available from Tesla today, this older car really just doesn't stand up well. However, this 2015 Model S is far and away much better than any gas-powered car that is 6 years old. And considering that you can get these for well under $40,000, I think it could be a great buy. Would I buy one? No, I would buy a newer Tesla. But it is something that I think should be considered. My other impressions of the car, it is big, but it's safe and it's smart, and the time on the trip really flew by, and while it took longer than if I were in a gas car, I really didn't notice. And this entire experience just made me want a newer Tesla even more. As far as renting a car on Turo goes, it's a very different experience than if you're renting from a company. If anything goes wrong, it's up to you to pay to get it fixed, unless it's something major like you have an accident. And that is not something that you want if you're driving 1,000 miles away from where the vehicle owner lives. I honestly, if we weren't able to get the flat tire fixed the way we did, I don't know what else we would have done. I mean, we might have had to pay to get the car towed back or extended our trip by another day, which would just cost extra money, another hotel, and then pay to get it fixed at a Tesla center, assuming they would have had availability. Yeah, I mean, so much about that situation could have been much worse, and I think we're really lucky that Tesla has service that will just come out and put a new wheel and tire right there on the car for you. So that's pretty much my impressions. and the trip as a whole. I hoped you liked this video and got something of value from watching it. As always, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications for future videos. And thank you so much for watching.